everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. I have the honor of having Ashley Klaja from Living Beautifully, Utah. No, yes, did I say
Yeah,
that?
live awfully.
Beautifully, Living Beautifully. I always want to extra the ly in there.
Yeah.
So she has the most gorgeous Instagram and such an amazing story about how she became inspired to start her beautiful Instagram feed. We have been friends on and off, chatting here and there. I love your page and I'm so inspired all the time. So thank you,
Thank
thank you
you.
again for being on today.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your story. Like what really inspired you to become like a culinary artist? And that's what you are. Like your page is just I can't even wrap my mind around how beautiful it is.
Well, thank you. It's funny what inspired me. I never have known anything different. I have always had a love and an interest in cooking. I mean, even as a little girl, I remember, making my very first chocolate chip cookies, flipping that bag of the Toll House morsels, making those chocolate chip cookies as an 11-year-old. And in the kitchen cooking right beside my grandma, who I call Mom. I'm from Texas originally, so all those Southern desserts and meals, and having my mom just have me right beside her, teaching me, just even as a little girl, really kind of set the stage for the rest of my life, essentially. My love for cooking and baking and making memories.
Oh, and that's what they do. Like just
Hmm.
recently on your Instagram, you surprised your children with a trip to Disney World, right?
Yes.
Did it in the most beautiful way. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I think is so great about food and entertaining, the whole goal is you want to create a memory. You want to create an experience, not so much even just to show off, well, look at what you can do necessarily, but who are you doing it for? And so, during COVID, we had been planning a trip to Disney for over a year. And of course, we had to cancel it because of COVID. And my kids were absolutely devastated. We are Disney fans. We love to plan our trip from the moment we decide to go to the day we leave. And so canceling that was really devastating. And so they had no idea that we were actually going to plan to go during Halloween. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to make it extra special and reveal it in a way that they'll never forget. And I mean, I love all things Disney, and I also love the fun and whimsical nature of Halloween. And so I combined the two and had this big surprise, we're going to Disney World party reveal, and they were absolutely shocked.
Wow.
Um, in my stories, just their reaction, and it was worth every single hour of work. And it's really moments like that that you're like, okay, this is why you do this. You do this to create that memory and reaction and sort of magic for your children, for your family, for your friends. So it was so much fun.
Oh, it was great. I loved it. I was like, this is such a good idea, and it came out so beautiful. And
Yeah.
so, as a culinary artist, you have done events and gone to blogger conventions. Is that correct? So, talk a little bit about your business and what you do that way.
So I obviously make cakes. I do parties. I before COVID was having cake classes in my home, which was really fun. I also would hold events in my home called Chick Chat, which I would design sort of a tablescape, and we would have lots of desserts. But it was really centered around connecting women. So one woman each month would share sort of her story, whether it was a story of maybe a past drug addiction or miscarriage or whatever sort of hardship she might have gone through. And sort of the focus was that. But then I was able to also showcase the tablescapes or the food. And so it was just a great time. I've done events. I do cake orders, and then obviously I produce content and all kinds of things through Instagram as well.
Yeah, I'm a super fan of your page. Like every time I go on and I see what you make, I'm just so blown away. I took a cake class when my kids were little because I was a stay-at-home mom. And so I tried
Uh-huh.
everything. I did crocheting, I did quilting and stuff. I did cake class. I couldn't even get the rows down. I don't know how you do what you do.
Well, I don't even know why that's considered like in a beginner cake class. Like that is not like the beginner kind of stuff is like, let's try and work on just stacking a cake where it doesn't fall over. Like that's step one. We don't want to go for the rows on day one, right? Like that's hard.
It's discouraging. I'm like, I'm never going to get this rose. I'm a failure. Next class.
Yeah.
I did learn how to frost a cake better than that. Right?
See that should be a confidence booster. And I try not to, some of the things I create, I don't want people to, just the stay-at-home mom who doesn't have any kind of culinary background to think that they can just go ahead and whip this up and look how easy that is not the case. A lot of what I share is inspiration.
Yeah.
So many people that have attempted, my recipes or things, modeling after some of my cake designs, they share them with me. And no matter at whatever level they're at, I'm just shocked and amazed at people just going for it, getting in the kitchen, whether it's, trying to develop your craft or whether it's just trying to make a cake for the first time ever.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I always encourage people to do that no matter what level they're at.
I love that. I love that. And I love like to go back a little bit to what you said about your chit chat. Was it right?
Chick
Where
chat.
where you had women come over and they were able to express themselves and really it was probably very therapeutic just to have that time and just share with each other and you turned your love of cake design and entertainment into something that was very therapeutic and helpful to other women, which I think we really need more than
Mhm.
ever. Well, that was pre-COVID, but as things hopefully come down and you can start that again, I'm sure you're going to get a lot more of that because we've all been so isolated and it's just a different world right now. So,
Yeah, I always say, the dessert, for as far as Chick Chat goes, the desserts bring people in, but they leave with the stories. That is the takeaway every single time. People are so touched by whatever story has been shared. I think us as women, we crave that connection. We were made for connection.
yeah,
And so being able to be around other people and connect, being able to hear a story, whether we've gone through that exact same trial or not, we can identify with struggling. We can identify with certain feelings within each and every woman's story. And so that's always the takeaway for people with Chick Chat. And honestly, Chick Chat has been one of my most rewarding things that I've ever done. I've been doing it for over 10 years now. And it's something that I felt God has given me and will continue to give me to do that. That's something that's here to stay. The cake classes and all sorts of things come in and out of my life, but that is something that I really believe God has called me to do, to bring women into my home. So it's been a huge blessing.
I love that. I really love that. Years ago, before I started my Instagram, I would host like craft parties, and that's kind of actually where the inspiration is. Like I just want to do some stuff through the holidays, and so it was like whether it was a wreath making class or like a pumpkin with ribbon on it, and that's really how I kind of started with my Instagram journey because my friends are like, Lisa, you should share this more, and they started YouTube, and then led to Instagram. But I love how you brought the element where people can really just sit and talk, and hopefully maybe one day that gives me a great idea that hopefully, I could do that beyond. I'd love it. I miss having that connection a lot. And like you said, you've been doing it for 10 years and just probably the lives you've touched through that is a great story. And that wasn't even in our notes. I love that.
thing that I talk about because, and ironically, no matter what, if anyone ever starts asking me questions about what I do, I always will mention that. And it's always what ends up being what everyone wants to gravitate towards, because we're yearning for that. I think now more than ever, we're yearning for that. We're yearning to see the common ground
Yeah.
amongst all of us. We're yearning to see the hope
Yeah.
that we just want it so bad. So I definitely encourage, if you're in another state, or if you're not local to me and can't come to my chick chat, or even if you are and want to have your own, invite women over, whether it's just two of your friends, and having those intentional conversations. You don't have to have a big dessert display. It doesn't have to be all out. You can, slam the Chips Ahoy down on the coffee table, and or Oreos or whatever you prefer. But it's about having those intentional conversations to dig deeper within ourselves, and that's how you make real connection.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'm moving to Utah.
Yes, come on, girl.
I am sick of this heat. I went for a walk at 75 degrees and I came back beet red. I was like, this Scottish Irish, not known for the desert.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. And that's really a blessing and a gift that you're giving to women. And that makes me even love you more, honestly. And beyond the gorgeous artwork that you do, that you really have taken that and passed that along. And I think that's great. We need to get that out there more, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So your Instagram, like we've talked about, like, where do you come up with some of your ideas? Because your cakes are just mind blowing. Is it just like inspiration? Do you lay in bed at night thinking?
Yes. Yeah. That it'll just, I can't go to sleep. It's just racing through my mind. And I think that, I think everyone's idea is inspiration out of somewhere, something that they've seen, whether it's, I'll be walking through Hobby Lobby and I'll see an ornament and say, oh, that could be a good cake idea, or I'll be outside running, and just the beauty of nature will inspire me for something. Pinterest is an amazing way of inspiration. And I always say, don't try and copy something, but you can see something or 10 different somethings and really make it your own. Put your own sort of spin on that. And sometimes it's really, really difficult, like especially if I'm challenged with maybe a theme, if a brand wants me to do a certain theme and I can't really get into it. But once I start maybe having one idea, it's a snowball. And then I'm like, okay, I'm all in now.
Yeah.
It's getting to that place of, and almost you have to kind of sit down and really focus and dig deep to try and get that inspiration going.
I 100% I get that. I have Christmas coming and it's like I have an idea. I have ideas and it's like I'll be laying in bed and it's 11 o'clock, 11:30, and I'm like, I have to quit thinking about how I'm going to decorate a banister.
I know. And you're going to end up getting all the stuff for the banister and then redoing it a million different times. And, the way our brain works, I guess.
The creative mind never shuts off.
Yes.
And it's true. The same inspiration for me is like I'll go through Home Goods and I'll be like, I'm not going to pay $30 for this. How can I do this more inexpensive? Yeah. Or how can I do my own take? And I like what you said. Pinterest is a great way if people get stuck, but please get an inspiration, but make it your own, right?
Yes. Yes.
Get an inspiration, make it your own, stay unique to you. And,
for sure.
Or if you're going to copy it, give that person credit.
Oh,
hey, so I tried your cake.
Right.
So, well, that's great. And then, if someone wanted to start entertainment, like, what do we call it? Entertainment baking. Is it baking? Is it just baking? Yeah. If they wanted to start an account like yours, because it's truly inspirational and they don't know where to start, like what are some tips for them?
I think, especially something that I've learned probably more than ever recently, is share who you are. There are so many. I mean, just for me, I mean, I follow all sorts of accounts.
Yeah.
And there are so many accounts that we can look at and say, man, I want to be like them. I want to do it like they do it. I want photos like them. I want cakes like them. But no, 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 no. That's not who God made you. He did not make you them. He made them them. And so you gotta share who you are. And I was really struggling a couple weeks ago with something that I was going to share, and I was comparing it to so many other things that I was seeing, and I was like, it's not as good as this person's or that. And I was telling my husband this, and he's like, but you're not that's not you. You're sharing what you are, and that's more over the top. It's a little bit more of a has a little bit. I like to set up my cakes more and integrate decor and stuff, and like tablescapes and stuff like that. A lot of other cake people, they'll share just their cake, and it's really clean, and it's a solid background. That's not me. That's not how I share. And so I even find myself struggling a bit with sort of being comfortable in that, and not making excuses for that. But that's what makes my style me.
Yeah.
And so I think you've got to find what that is for you, and don't look back, and don't make apologies or excuses or try and be something that you're not meant to be.
Right.
I think, and then the second thing I think is, if you're going to start any Instagram account, well, good luck, sister. 'Cause I remember I started about 2.5 years ago, maybe it's 3. I don't even remember. I actually started as a home decor account. That's how I found you. I mean, we found each other, Lisa. I started as a home decor account when we moved here to Utah, and I just wanted to share our new home. And I'm so grateful that I did, because the home decor community on Instagram is, I personally believe, hands down the best, most supportive community. And as I've transitioned into sort of the cake and baking entertaining community, there's nothing wrong with that community, but they're not as near as supportive and wonderful, in my opinion, as the home decor community. But when I started, I mean, it was constant. You try and build a following, you try and sort of establish maybe who you are. You have to try and start an account and you have no content, so you're spending a lot of time producing content, but then the rest of your time is just trying to get engagement. And so it never ends. It is a ladder that every rung you climb, it moves up to, and it can be very, very frustrating and very discouraging. And so my tip, so to speak, is to be intentional with your time. And if this is something that you want to start, or if this is something that you want to grow, do not lose sight of the things that matter. And it's not that this doesn't matter, but you really have to sit down and prioritize what are the things that matter most. Typically, that is going to be your family. That's going to maybe be your primary job. That's maybe going to be maybe some other obligations that might be, you might want to put up there as more important. And you want to prioritize and be very intentional with your time, because it can suck you in. And before you know it, you've lost so many other things that matter more. So that would be my tip for that.
It's so true. It's people don't realize that this is a full-time job. And
Mhm.
then you have another full-time job being a wife or mother, trying to be a good friend, trying to carve out time for your friendships, and you can try and bring it all together. And there's many times that I keep wanting to do this hair. There are many times that, I mean, when my phone says I've been on my phone for 8 hours, I'm like,
You're like, this can't be right. What are they doing? I'm like, no, this isn't right. My phone is just, it's malfunctioning.
I 100% agree. And like, so sometimes at the place I'm at, I struggled, like I grew really fast and then I stalled. And I also was remodeling, moving, doing all these other things. And I didn't have like really content, like focused content. And now that I've like life settled and I can focus on it, it's moving again. But now I realize on the weekends I want to put my phone down, or in the evenings at like dinner I might pop on here or there to respond to comments or try and get through some DMs, but then I have to set it down because it can be very time consuming and you lose track of family or this or that. And like even many times, like if I'm out, like just recently because of COVID, if we're out to lunch, which has been very rare, I put my phone in my purse because I have forgotten, I'd taken for granted those moments. And now I want to be like in real life,
Yes.
you know, and being intentional with it. So
And
that's,
and it's a very slippery, I mean, it can be addicting. I mean, especially like you said, if you grow really fast or if you're having growth spurts, it can be very addicting. And so you have to be checking yourself constantly about that intentionality with your time and what your true goals are. You know, is your goal to just get a bunch of followers, you know, I mean, because that'll never, ever stop, you know, or is it to genuinely share the talents that God has given you, to inspire others, and then also to be a good mom, a good wife, you know, all these other things ahead of that. But I think, man, if I wish I could have slowed down more when I started, because it was like, I gotta have more, I gotta have more, I gotta have more, and it just drove me crazy. I mean, it really did.
yeah. Yeah. When I did that, I did a long pause like for 4 months where I just hardly grew. And it really, it got to me because when you're used to the quick growth, right? And so then I just had to stop and reevaluate, okay, what do I want from this? This is Instagram. I'm here to
Yeah.
inspire other people, but I'm losing myself along the way. And I
Hmm.
had to really stop and reevaluate that. And then COVID happened, and the first few months was just nuts. And then I
Yeah.
once again had to stop and focus and say, okay, I've had this idea for this podcast because I've I've made some really amazing connections on this platform, and there's just so many beautiful decor accounts and entertainment accounts. And like I called it Social with Lisa so I could expand a little bit beyond home decor, even though that's my core. But I wanted to share other people's stories and other people's journeys to inspire them. And I finally did it. So it was adding more work, but it's also like I love your story and I love your page. So I'm just so happy I was able to like share that and share it with my followers, and hopefully you get to share this with your followers and people learn something and more about you, more in depth, more of what's gone behind the scenes of what you do every day instead of just that beautiful picture they see and of course love every day. So
Yeah.
that's why that's
Yeah.
why we're here today. So
Yeah.
they get to know you more, and I learned a ton more about you, and I just you're amazing.
Oh, so are you. And I think, again, like what you were saying with your podcast, anytime, we can do something with a purpose, when there's an actual purpose behind it, and it's not just, I think Instagram can be very consumer. It's like consumerism. I don't ever want to be a source of just people wanting to buy more junk. I want it to be, with a purpose. I want you to see what I do and not necessarily think that you have to do every single thing, but I want it to inspire you to make those memories with your family, to make your first birthday cake for your kid, to celebrate little things that you might not have thought about before. And so that's a purpose, right? Versus, here's all this stuff, go and buy it. That's discouraging to think that that's kind of what you would be doing as an influencer. And so I think we all, in anyone, whether they're a small account or a huge account, everybody wants their purpose to be worth it in the end. And so I think that this podcast for you is essentially doing just that. It's getting those stories out there to hopefully inspire and really touch people's lives.
Yeah, that is the goal. That really is. And I love it. And like I said, I love getting to know more about you. But before you leave, before we go, I just want to say, as we head into the holidays, we talked about this a little bit. We have Thanksgiving coming, which, as we know, sometimes get overshadowed by Christmas, which is really sad because it's always one of my favorite holidays. But once you join Instagram, it's like, poof, you don't
Yeah.
get like we're going to try and eat outdoors this year. So
Oh,
that way I can have, because it's still 70s here in Arizona.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, what are a couple things people could be thinking of that they might try for themselves for, say, Thanksgiving and Christmas? What are a couple little tips or something they could do with their family or, incorporate that?
Well, now that you just said that, so one of the things we have made a tradition. Thanksgiving at our house has been a special thing over the last since living in Utah, because it's one of those trips where we don't go back home to see our family. So it's just our little family, and I have kind of put my daughter, since she's like wanting to follow in my footsteps, like so interested in baking and entertaining and all of that. And so that is kind of her time to shine. And she decorates the table, and she makes placemats, and she writes Bible verses on little cards and puts them on the table, and she decorates the table with turkey feathers and all of that. And I just let her have it. Because I thought, that's something that she'll always remember. And it's something that's so, like, I love a pretty table. I show pretty tables all the time. So for me, I don't need just another day to do a pretty table. It's always a special thing at our house. And I think anytime you can get your kids involved, especially with Thanksgiving, to sort of teach them, and kind of show by example, okay, what are we thankful for? How can we express that? How can we show that? So that's one of the things, kind of a tradition that we do. Another easy thing, if you're looking for Thanksgiving wise, I shared this. I was on a TV segment last Thanksgiving sharing just a really simple way to jazz up a store-bought pie. It's very easy to find store-bought pies around Thanksgiving, and sometimes we don't want to take the time, or sometimes we're already making a couple other pies, but maybe we want just another easy pie to have. Is you can cut out little leaves or pumpkins or whatever with just a store-bought pie crust, and then put them along the edge of the crust of your store-bought pie to kind of them up. And number one, it looks homemade, and you can technically say it was homemade because you cut out the leaves or the pumpkins, with the cookie cutter.
I love that. I'm doing that. I'll send you a picture.
Do it.
That's awesome. What about for Christmas? Like every Christmas when my kids were little, we did cookie baking. So I have a sour cream cookie recipe, and I have tons of cookie cutters. I have a box of them. So I would always let the kids, I'd do the dough and they get to cut it out and bake it, and I'd let them just go for it. And that was our tradition. Now all my children are older, so I still try. I'm like, do I do cookie party? They'll come back. I have my first grandchild. I'm like, it's starting to circle around. Yeah. Yeah, we have a little girl, so.
Christmas, it's like there's so many fun things that you can do. We love gingerbread house decorating. I think you can buy the kits pretty much anywhere now, and have a little gingerbread house decorating competition. Of course, the cookies are always a hit. Little gingerbread men or sugar cookies are always fun. We also love to do a happy birthday Jesus cake, and usually for that, I let my kids do the whole thing, where it's in just the glass Pyrex, so it's not fancy or anything, but so they can do it start to finish, it can be a box cake mix and even canned frosting. I know you can gasp now. It has happened at my house before. But, getting the sprinkles out and having them decorate and have fun. And then also being able to incorporate that, that story and to just reinforce the meaning of Christmas in that way is always a good thing and something that we love to do each year.
Those are great tips. And once again, I'm just going to say thank you for saying yes to my podcast. I can't wait to share this with everyone. And once again, everyone, please head to her Instagram. It's all going to be linked in the bio and in the post. So you're going to hear all about her, and give her a follow and some love, because you won't be disappointed. Your page is just beautiful. And have fun at Disneyland.
Disney World.
Disney World, Sarah. I've only been to Disney World once, so it was a long time ago.
Got it.
Have fun, and thank you again.
Okay.